So my kids, they asked me, why does the Alexa in the basement have an Australian accent? I told them, well, it's because the basement is down under the house. Everybody's Tristan Ema with Mindful Living Realty, a realtor right here in Rapid City, South Dakota, the gateway to the Black Hills. Now, many of you Southerners and Coasties have mentioned basements? What are basements? I don't know anything about basements. So today we're going to talk about everything in the basement. You're going to find a lot of the homes in the Rapid City and Black Hills areas have basements. Now, as a quick FYI, when you see the square footage, we here consider basement square footage to be part of the whole square footage. So if we say it's 2,400 square feet, it's probably 1,200 up and 1,200 down. That's the complete total square foot. Now, every website might do a little different. I think Realtor.com only has the main floor space or above ground space, whatever. Here in South Dakota, that's how we measure square footage, up and down. So first of all, let's talk about the different types of properties you might see in our area with a basement. Now, like the 700 to 1,600 square foot homes, those are probably built on just a slab. They've got just a concrete base, and the home is built on top of that. The next type is a crawl space. Similarly, probably a smaller home with anywhere between 2 to 4 feet underneath that you can crawl underneath. Sometimes the utilities are down there, it just kind of depends on the access, but you have a crawl space underneath the property. The next type is the ranch style property. That's where you walk straight in the property and you've got a full basement underneath. You go all the way down the stairs to get to the basement. Then you've got the split level home where you go in the door and you can either up or down, and the downstairs is only half into the ground. There's also the tri-level where usually you go in at the main level and then off to the side you've got an up and a down. The down, again, like the split level, goes only about halfway. Then you've got the 4 level with the 1, 2, 3, and then also you go one more all the way underneath the main floor. So you actually have a full basement as well as the half basement on the one side. You also have a few different construction styles when it comes to the basements. The older homes in the 60s and 70s, they used the concrete blocks. Then there was poured concrete, and now I know they use poured concrete with forms, and there's some other technologies involved with that as well. In some of the more affordable communities, you also find that some of the split levels have a wood foundation. That's where instead of having concrete or block on the 4 foot of the basement, you have wood going all the way up and down, and then there's a waterproof membrane on the outside of that foundation. Now, you're going to see a lot of split level homes in Rapid City because you only have to dig 4 foot to start building the foundation, or 4 or 5 feet to build the foundation. So it's a cheaper build. You've got less concrete, you've got less time involved in the excavation of these foundations. Basements are generally cooler in the summer because they are in the ground a little bit, so there's a little more insulation there. Some of the older basements can feel very uncomfortable. They've got the block walls, they've got the small windows, and the ceilings are usually a little bit shorter, making it feel a little bit more cramped down there. So it's a little bit less comfortable in some of the older properties. The split level basements are a lot brighter because they've only got the 4 foot of concrete, so therefore the big full window, 4 foot window, is above that, so you've got lots of light streaming in all the different windows downstairs. While we're on the subject of windows, code is going to require that a window for a bedroom downstairs needs to be egress. That means I believe it needs to be 4 foot tall by 3 foot wide, and then there needs to be some way for them to get out of the window well. Now, if it doesn't have an egress window, sometimes you'll see on some of the MLS descriptions where it says to NTC, not to code, which means that there are 2 bedrooms downstairs, but they don't have the appropriate window to be considered code, to be called a legal bedroom. Another quick note on technicalities, just because the bedroom doesn't have a closet doesn't mean that we can't call it as a bedroom. We don't have those strict rules saying this is definitely a bedroom, this is definitely not. We are required to make sure that the notation for not to code bedrooms is listed in the MLS description somewhere. Now, if your basement only has the small windows, you can't hire a contractor, he'll come cut that out, put a window in, but you have to make sure that outside has access for getting out and for that window well. And those are those metal things that kind of curve around you see in some of the pictures, either metal or plastic, that gives you access to that window. Obviously, if that window comes out underneath a low porch and you can't get out under there, it's not considered a true egress window, so you're not really accomplishing what you're supposed to accomplish, and that of course is for safety and fire escape. Depending on the location of the property, you might be lucky to get a walkout basement where the ground comes down and you can walk right out from your basement through a sliding door. Some of the older properties, especially on the west side of town, they've dug out a stairwell access to the basement, so you can usually enter through a normal entry door. On those properties, it's really important to make sure that you have a drain in that, because that's where all the water can flow and needs to have somewhere to go. Speaking of water, now let's talk about the most important thing when it comes to the basement, and that is, of course, water in the basement. Now, in 2019, we had a huge wet year, and a lot of basements that hadn't had water in their basement ever before did. What happened was we had a lot of water that came down, and it was raining and raining and raining and didn't have a chance to really soak into the ground. So the water table rose, and when that water table rose, it started seeping in different basements from underneath. Now, when you have your home inspection, your inspector is going to say, make sure that the ground is away from the property so the water doesn't get into the basement. Make sure your downspouts are at least 3 feet carrying the water away. And make sure if you've got a hill in the back that there's a place for that water to go around your house and away from the property. Hopefully the home is built with drain tile underneath it. What that is a pipe that's got some holes in it that allows the water to get in there. That's underneath the entire basement, and that all flows to the sump pit. A lot of people ask, what's a sump pit? That's a hole in the ground underneath the basement floor. So when that water table rises, the water then gets into that drain tile, and that drain tile takes it away from the house underneath the foundation into that sump pit, and it drains it into that pit. So then we install a sump pump in that pit to take that water, pull it outside and away from that property. Now, a couple of things on this sump pump. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have a plumber install it correctly, but we'll just kind of give you a few of the heads up details just so that you understand what you need to do. So when it comes to that sump pump, make sure that you've got a grounded outlet for you to plug that into. You know, water, electricity, they don't mix very well. And then attach a hard pipe to that sump pump, like a PVC pipe. That's going to go up the basement wall, out the side, and away from the property. So whenever that water collects, the sump pump's going to turn on when the water gets high enough, pump that water out, and you're not going to have water collect underneath your basement. Now, I've seen some people put a hose on that and take that and put it in their drain. That's illegal. Don't do that. The other thing that you can do is get a battery backup system. So if you've got a huge thunderstorm, the water's pouring down, and then the power goes out, you still have power to that sump pump so it can get that water out, even if the power is off. Usually all the new constructions now will have a sump pit installed in the property so that you can install a sump pump later on. Sometimes those properties are in areas that really don't have a lot of water problems, and you probably won't need it. But it's always good to have that insurance to put that sump pump in that pit. Make sure if there is any water that it gets out of the house and down the street. But what if you don't have a sump pump? What if the water is starting to come in? Then what? If you're having significant water issues with your basement and you don't have a sump pump, or maybe you do and it's not working correctly, there are 2 companies in town that I would recommend that you could call to have them come by and take a look. One is called Blackbird Basement Repair, and the other is Rapid Foundation Repair. What they're probably going to do is cut a channel on the inside of your home all the way along, put that drain tile in, and then install a sump pump there. So instead of having the drain tile underneath the property, you'll have that drain tile on the interior of your walls. So the water comes down, the water goes in, hits those drain tiles, goes to the sump pump, goes out. And then they're going to come in and put concrete back over the top of the areas that they cut. Certainly not the cheapest option in the world, but it sure beats vacuuming at 3 a.m. in the morning. I've been there. If nothing else, you can at least have a sump pump and pit installed, where maybe in one corner where it seems to be the majority of the problem. Then when the water table rises, the sump pump's just going to take all that away out of the house. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Is basement even worth it with all those water problems? Now, when it comes to purchasing a new property, the seller must disclose if there has ever been any water in the property and what they've done to fix it, etc. If Blackburn or something else come in and taken care of the problem, I'm not terribly worried about it. If they've never had a problem before and it's been after 2019, chances are you're probably pretty good. But there are times when sometimes the seller doesn't realize that there have been a problem. Of course, we'll have the home inspector take a look at the basement, make sure there aren't any signs of water intrusion in the past. Sometimes you can see lines along wood or rusty nails, that kind of thing. And we'll make sure we dot all our I's and cross all our T's in that department. I have very fond memories of our basement in Minnesota when we lived there, and I really enjoy hanging out in my office/TV room as well in our basement at home. Okay, now it's time to talk about radon. So radon is an odorless gas that comes up from the earth and can filtrate through your home and has been known to cause cancer with high enough levels. The EPA recommends a level of under 4.0 to be considered safe. So when you buy a property, I will suggest that we do a radon test on that property, make sure that it is safe. If it is, we're great. We'll just keep moving along with life. If not, what we need to do is we need to install a radon mitigation system. So what the radon mitigation installer is going to do is he's going to go to that sump pit and he's going to install another series of PVC pipes, and they're usually about 6-inch pipes, I believe, that are going up and out the house, up towards the house. And they'll install a fan about 3/4 of the way up. So that, and then what that happens is that fan then pulls all the radon from underneath the house up and through and out through the house. These systems are guaranteed to have the radon levels under 4.0. And even years down the road, I've seen them work very great. So what they're going to do also at the sump pump level is they need to make sure that that's sealed so no radon escapes except through the pipe. So if you don't have a sump pump in your sump pit, if you need to install a radon system, I'd recommend that you have that sump pump installed as well so that everything's in there, it can be sealed up, and you don't have to worry about later on needing to install a sump pump and have to break all those seals. So what are you going to typically find in a South Dakota basement? Generally speaking, you're going to find a couple of bedrooms, you're going to find a bathroom, and you're going to find another living space that we call the family room. So you can have your upstairs living room be a lot more of your formal sitting area type, and downstairs is where you let loose, and you have the big screen TV and the big couch. But what you're also going to have downstairs is your laundry room, mechanical room. Everything is kind of in this one room that's not usually finished. So typically in this room, you're going to have your washer and your dryer, you're going to have your furnace, you're going to have your water heater, usually you're going to have your electrical box, and probably also like where the cable's coming in and the networking and that kind of stuff. All of this is going to be in this one mechanical room, usually. And generally doesn't look very pretty, but on your homes under 400,000, that's probably what you're going to find downstairs for your laundry room. All right, so now let's say you bought that property with an unfinished basement. And you say, you know what? I'm going to finish it myself. So let's talk about a few things regarding the finish and build out of your basement. Number one item on the list, get your damn permits. So the state of South Dakota wants to come by and make sure that your electrical systems are in place and that your plumbing systems are in place properly. So you can do the work yourself, but you got to call the electricians and the plumbers to come by and give you the thumbs up that you did it right. If you don't and you furnish everything downstairs, when it comes to selling the property, you're going to have to say on the disclosure, yes, I did the work, but I didn't get a permit for it. So then what might have to happen is the electricians have to come in, cut open your walls to make sure that you installed everything properly so that they can check that off. So get your permits. The city, check on your city regulations as well. Each city is a little different on the type of permits they need, but make sure that you ask them as well to make sure you do it correctly. Trust me, this is for your own good. Most basements in our area have sheetrock, both on the walls and the ceiling, taped, textured, painted, with a variety of flooring options. Carpet is one of the more popular ones because since it's downstairs, the flooring is a little cooler, so that kind of keeps everything a little warmer. However, a lot of the new vinyl plankings have been put downstairs, and those work really well. What you shouldn't do is spend too much money putting in real wood downstairs. So that wood floor is going to expand and it's going to contract with the moisture and with the seasons. So you'll have lots of cracks or it'll cup and you'll have lots of movement across the floor and it just won't be great. Usually your manufactured prefab flooring is okay. Just make sure you install that foam layer, that vinyl layer underneath. A nicely finished basement can add a lot of money to your value. Right now, if you get it installed by a professional, they're quoting $25 to $30 per square foot to finish off your basement. So if you've got 1,000 square foot, that could be upwards of $30,000 to finish off your basement. Depending on your area, by finishing up your basement, the resale value of your property could make you pretty happy. Okay, there we go. Lots of stuff about basements. What did I miss? Anything? Tell me what you enjoy most about your basement in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and remember, love where you live.